there, thanks for joining me to color. Today we're going to be working on this adorable Whimsy Stamps image called Wishlist. Isn't he cute? This is a card kit over in the store, or on my store blog. If you want to pick that up, I'll put a link to that and everything I used down in the description box. I would love for you to come shopping with me. So I've already stamped my image on some Neenah 80-pound Solar Bright cardstock with Memento Tuxedo black ink. So let's color. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start out by doing our outline around the outside. So I'm going to take my C0 and I'm going to go completely around the outside of my little guy here. And I like to do this first so if I get some on him I can erase it pretty easily. And I don't have to worry about picking any colors up off of my image and dragging them out to the background. And you don't have to worry about how wide your line is or anything like that. I just do this so that it looks like it gives it a little bit of more dimension and doesn't look quite so flat on the page. And I think I'll come down here and go around this little ornament. But it never fails. If I wait and do it afterwards, it picks up color off of my images and it drags it out to the outside. So then I have like a little red streak or a little blue streak out here in the background. And you can completely leave this off too if you don't like this part. I just like it to look a little bit dimensional for me. And I'm not being really careful, I'm just quickly going clear around the outside. I've actually made it I had 7 Christmas images in my box to color for this year's card kits, and this is the last one. So, you know, that would normally be it, but I found a couple of more that are really cute, so I'll be coloring a few more Christmas images as I can get them on the store. I'm hoping to do a couple more at least, so that we can get them done before the end of November. I try to get them done fairly quickly so that everybody has a chance to whip them up. Okay, so we're going to do the skin next. For that, we're going to use E11, E21, E00, E000, R20, and R30 for our cheeks. So we're going to start with our E11. And I'm going to go ahead and start down here on his leg. So let's give his leg a little dab underneath of his shorts. And then we'll grab E21. And I go ahead and touch down on top of my E11. And I'm going to brush it to fill it in. I'm going to give it 2 coats, just because it's underneath of his leg. And I want it to be a little bit darker, so we'll go with E11 again. And then a second coat of our E21. And I'm going to brush backwards this time just so I make sure to get it all the way covered. And then I think just because I have a little bit of a line here, I'm going to go ahead and brush over it one more time over the entire leg. And then we're going to hop up here and we're going to work on his face and his neck. So let's go ahead and do a little line underneath of his neck and then down the back. And then for his face, I'm going to go underneath of his bangs. And then I'm just going to go around over here to the other side. And I'm keeping my pen pretty light. I'm barely touching the paper. But I'm also going to bring this line around over here to where his neck was. Here. And then I'm going to bring a little bit of that into his ear. Oh, and we better do a little bit right here for his nose. So let's go like this. And then we'll add E21 next. So I'm going to go ahead and brush on his neck. And I'm going to leave a little white patch there, just because I'm going to know I'm going to come back and do a second coat, so I'm not worried if it looks patchy yet. And we're going to bring this color around his eye, and we're going to connect it over here. And then for this line, I tend to brush away. So I'm just touching down on my 11 and I'm flicking out into my white. And same for this little nose. Let's add a little dab just to soften that line a little bit. Next, I'm going to add E00. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in his neck. And then we're just going to brush away from our 21. And be careful going around his eye. We don't want to color his eyeball brown. Even though if you did go over it, you could remove it with your colorless blender. Or you could go later and use your Sharpie white paint pen and just color right over that little dot that's in the middle of his eye there. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly fill in the rest of his face. And it's looking pretty blotchy still, but that's okay because we're going to add some cheek color. And then we're going to come back and we're going to soften that up again. So let's go with our R20. And let's do a little dab over here on this side. And I'm starting right next to the edge of his cheek where I stamped. And then over here, let's go with right here. And I try to start like in the middle of my cheek and brush from the middle out. That way I have a higher concentration of color right in the middle. And then we're going to soften the edge with our R30. I'm not going out too much further past my R20. I'm just barely brushing that edge. Then I'm going to grab our E00. And we're going to go right over the top of our E11 and our E21. And we're going to flick out here into our white. And for this side, I'm going to come from this way. We're going right over the edge of that E21 that I laid down there. Bring this around over here. And I think from my eye right here, for our little nose, I'm going to go right over the top of that nose and on this half of his face. And then I'm going to fill in this little section with my E000. I'm just going to flick right over the top of that little patch of white I had left. And then I think his cheeks need to be a little pinker, so let's add a little bit more of our R20. And then I'm going to take my E000 and I'm just going to flick over the edges of that cheek. And this one I'm just going to flick over the entire thing. And I'm not liking his neck, so I'm going to take E21. Brush that over the top here. Because it's looking like it has a little bit too much lines in there for me. And then his face right here, he's got a little line right here, so I'm going to take my E00 again. And let's flick that edge right here. I'm just going right over the top of that line that I can still see. Just soften it a little bit. And then we'll flick over the top of that with our E000. So I'm just going to go ahead and swipe right across. And remember, I'm avoiding that little eyeball. We don't want to paint that. Soften that all together a little bit. Oops. Let's go ahead and do his hair next. For that, we'll use E47, 44, 53, and 51. So I'm going to start with my second darkest, which is E44. And I'm going to add some streaks in here. So let's see, his hair is going, he's got a little part right here. So I'm going to pull off of that and I'm going to curve it around because his head is going, his hair is going around kind of in a little C here. So if I hold my pen more straight up and down, I can take my pen and I can just make some little lines that go in a C shape. And let's pull a few down like this. I'm going to come back with a second coat later, so don't worry if it's not looking that great yet. So we'll do this side, and then we're going to do the same thing over here. So you want your little streaks to go in the direction his hair is going, so I'm going to turn him upside down. And his hair is going to swoop over the top of his head and kind of come around over here. So like right in here, it's swooping right here. He's got a little one that goes up, but then it kind of goes around like this. Here's some that's poking up, so we're going to add a little bit in there. And then let's go up here, and we'll go this. And then over here it kind of swoops up, so I'm going to add a little bit in there. And here's one that's swooping. Okay, we're going to start with that and see how it goes. Next we're going to add our E53. So again, we're just going to add some lines. So let's go in here and go right over the top. And now I'm just kind of swishing my pen back and forth, just to add some more of this color in there. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just making some little swoopy lines, but I'm making sure my swoopy lines are going in the same direction his hair is going. Now we're going to add our 51. And for this, you can either go over the entire thing, which is what I'm going to do, because I can never get that white streak business down the way I like it. So I'm just going to swoop right over the entire hair and color the whole thing in. You can also leave the white in there if you like the way that looks, or you can get it the way you want it to look. That would be perfectly fine. I'm just filling the rest of his hair in. I'm going to wipe over the top this way. Okay, so now we're going to use our E47, which was the darkest one, and we're going to add in a few little dark areas. So I'm going to have some really dark ones right here in his part. So let's go like this. And I'm holding my pen a lot straighter, and I'm trying to just touch the very end of my pen so it barely swipes over the top of that paper, so that it barely makes a little line. They're pretty skinny, so that worked out pretty good that way. So it works best for me if I pull my image away, or I'm doing those little streaks away from me. So I'm going to turn him upside down, and then I'm going to do the same thing. So we're going to go up here, and I'm just going to make some little streaks going over the top of his hair. Let's pull a few down this way. Okay, that looks pretty good. But now I'm going to go back with my E44, and I'm just going to add a few more of those in. And again, it works best for me if I'm doing the littler streaks pulling towards me. It may work best for you to do the opposite direction. It's just easier for me to pull my pen towards me to get a little bit smaller areas or lines. And that's flipping around. We'll do the other side. So we're going to do this one over here. And this side, I feel like it's dipped a little bit more into his the shadowed area. So I'm going to add a little bit more over here so it's a little bit darker than on this side over here. And let's add a little bit to this little section right in here. All right, so for his shirt and the soles of his shoes, we're going to use W3 and W1. So let's go ahead and do his shirt first. So on the collar of his shirt, I'm going to say he's got on a shirt because you can see a little bit of his shirt down here in these little X's right here. Whoops, I didn't need quite that much. I'm going to do a little bit on each of these little triangles, X's, triangles. And then up here on his collar, which I think is sticking out of his sweater, we're going to go along the back. And And then we're going to pull it a little bit around to the front here. That. And then for the sole, let's do this side. And then we're going to pull around here on this side. And just a little bit on each of those ones. I probably should do a little bit over here. And then we'll take W1 to fill our soles in. So I'm just going to swipe over that little patch that was left. And always make sure to go into the next colors. Like over here, I'm going to start on my W3. And we're just going to flick and fill in our white. But I always want to go over that edge of my last color just so it softens it up a little bit. Oh, helps if you do this little section right here, huh? And then we're going to get this one back out. And I'm going to darken up this little area in the back just a little bit more. And then I better soften that edge. And I think this one, yes, this one I used for the little bird's chest, so let's go with a little bit underneath of his face, and then I'm just going to go with a little dab on this side, so it's kind of like a half moon over here on his chest, and then I left it as a little white patch there on the edge. Okay, so let's do the reindeer next. For that we'll use E27, 25, and 23. We're also going to use these for his shoe. Let's go down here and do his shoe first. So we'll start with our E27. And so I'm going to go ahead and fill in this top portion right here. And then for this one, we're going to go from the sole and about halfway up this little part that's got the tie on it. So let's go ahead and do this side. I'm going to leave a little bit of white. No, let's go ahead and fill this one in too. It's kind of on the side there. And then we'll do half of this one. And then with our E25, we're going to go ahead and fill in this little section with the shoelaces. And then I'm going to take my E23 and we're going to fill in this middle section. So I fill in the entire shoe. And I'm just swiping over the entire thing. And then I want it to be darker where he's got this little line right here towards the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a second coat right above that line. Whoops, I went out of the line. We'll fix that. Give it a couple coats. That'll make it darker up here at the top. And did I bring my colorless blender? Of course I didn't bring my colorless blender, so I guess I'll have to fix that little dot. That little dot right there is nobody's going to notice. We'll just leave that. Okay, so now we're going to go with our E27. We're going to do our little reindeer. So let's do right here. And then for his face, let's go next to where his little smiley face is. And then I'm going to go over the top of this glove. And then he's got his ear, so let's go around the top. And then you can see a little bit of his ear right here. I'm going to do that one. And this one over here, it doesn't have a spot where you can see the top of the ear, but I thought it looked weird after I colored it. So I'm going to go ahead and do just a little line right next to that antler so that it'll make it stand out a little bit. And then we're going to go down here and we're going to do his little leg. This. And then we're going to do this leg. And then we're going to want to go right next to his glove because his glove's going to cast a shadow down here. And then I'm going to go down this half of his, or this leg down this way. like that. And then we're going to add our E25 next. So let's start up here and we'll go a little bit up here. And let's go up over the top of our little glove here. And that's his ear, so I'll do that. And then we'll do this leg. And then this part of his body, I'm going to go ahead and bring it up where it goes even with this leg over here. So we're going to cover in this entire bottom section. And I think that I'll go right over the top of this tail. I still got a little bit of a line, so I'm going to go ahead and brush this line a second time. Okay, we'll leave that for, oh, we got to do his face. So for his face, let's go ahead and bring it up here, kind of with the edge of that nose. And then we're going to bring it up to this. And then I'm going to bring it just below this eye. And then I'm going to bring it up here to his antler, and I'm going to come across over to where this other little antler starts. And then again, I've got this little line right here where the E27 was, so I'm just going to give it an extra dab of color, and then we'll see how it goes if I need to add more. Okay, so E23, we're going to go ahead and cover or fill it in. So I tend to swipe over the entire area and fill it all the way in. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and swipe from here. I'm trying to be careful not to get any on that tail because we're going to color that a light brown and I don't want to have to worry about erasing it. So try to be careful with that. And then up here for his face, we'll go around his nose. And then around his eye. And we're going to fill this in. He's got a couple little white dots on his eyes, so I'm trying to be careful not to swipe over them the entire way. But if you did, you could just add them back in with your white paint pen, or you could go ahead and use your colorless blender to swipe over them and they would be fine. Alright, so we're going to do his tail and his antlers with E31 and E30. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my E31, and I'm going to do right along the bottom of this antler. And then I'm going to give each one of these little antlers just a little swipe of color. So again, let's go along the bottom here, and then we'll pick up over here and go along the bottom of this one. And then we're going to do the bottom of these two. Oh, and as long as we got it out, let's go ahead and do his tail too. I'm going to give his tail a little swipe, so about halfway. And then on my card, I accidentally colored this little puff of hair the color of his shirt. So I didn't even notice until I got finished, but that is a little puff of his hair. So you want to color that a little bit with your 20 or 31 too. Then we're just going to fill those in with our E30. And I'm going to go ahead and swipe the inside of his ear too. His tail, and then the inside of this ear. And if you wanted to, after you've done all the coloring on those, you could go back with your E31 and darken it up. It just depends on how much you put down the first time or what you want it to look like. So I think I'm going to give mine just another swipe here on his antlers with my 31. I kind of dissolved it all with that coloring. Just a little bit. And maybe a little dab on his tail here on this little edge. Alright, so now we're going to do his gloves and his shorts and the ornament and then the little leaf on the paper. For that we're going to use G46, 24, 82, and 43. And we're going to start with our 46. Let's go ahead and do this ornament first. So I'm going to do this bottom section of the ornament. So I'm going to give that a swipe. And then for his glove, we're going to go right along the edge here. And I didn't worry about that little flower or snowflake that's on there. I just painted right over the top of it. And then this glove, we're going to give it a little dab. And then for his shorts, we're going to go a little bit on this right side. And I'll probably give him a couple coats, so I'm not worried if it doesn't blend right in. So next we'll do our G24, so I'm going to add a little bit of that to my ornament. So I swipe over the 46, and then I make a little bit more into my white. Same here, let's go over our 46, and then add a little bit more or white to cover some of that up. Same thing here, swipe over 46, pull into your white. Next we'll add 82. So we'll add more to our ornament. So I'm going to go ahead and swipe over the last two. And there's not going to be any more room there. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. You may have left a little bit of room, so you might have some extra space. And then over here, I'm going to fill in this back section. And then I'm going to go just almost to the top, but I'm going to leave a little bit for my last color. And this one, let's go up on the other side of that thumb. Leave a little bit of white. And then over here, let's go swipe over all these shorts and come out until you got a little bit of white on this side. And then we'll take our G43 to fill that in. So even though I already colored the whole thing, I still like to go over the entire thing that I colored. So I just kind of swipe my pen across the entire short. Or his gloves. Just helps, for me, it helps smooth out those colors. Okay, and then we got to do these little leaves over here too. So let's grab 46 and let's give these a couple of colors. They're pretty small, so you're not going to need to do too much. And that one there is really small, so be careful and just use the tip of your pen. And I think I'll do, yep, 24 next. So let's go ahead and just fill that in, so be careful. Like I said, they're pretty small. Okay, while I was doing the antlers, I should have done the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my E31 and E30 again, and we're going to do that real quick. So I'm going to start with E31, and for the paper, let's go with a little bit right here on this side. And I kind of bring it under this little wrinkle right here, and then I'm going to come over the top and over here, and then I'm going to do this inside curve. And then right here where it's curved in, I skipped this little spot. We're going to leave that for a lighter color. But we're going to bring this around. It's going to be kind of dark in there. And then for this half of the paper, we're going to go underneath. And we're just going to swipe out. And I'm just kind of letting my pen go as far as my hand will carry it. And then I'm going to fill it in with my E30. Like that. And then let's go ahead and do a little bit on this curve and bring it around. And then over here, it's going to be kind of dark. So let's go ahead and bring that out. And then we're just going to fill it in with our 30. And there's a couple little bubbles right here. I'm just going to paint right over the top of those because I'm going to go over those with my gold Spica glitter pen. Even with these, this color's so light that if you get some on those little holly berries, it's not going to matter because we're going to paint those red. I still got a little bit of a line here, so I'm going to go back over that edge just a little bit more. And then I'm going to come back with my E31 And I'm just going to darken up some of these edges. So how about we go like right down the side here, this little edge. Let's hop over here and do the little bird. For the little bird, we're going to use B52 and B41 for his feathers, and for his beak, we're going to use YR16. Okay, so we're going to start with our B52. Let me zoom down a little bit. Okay, so for my little bird, I'm going to fill in this little wing right here. And then I'm going to fill in this under area underneath of his chest. And then I'll fill in his tail feather. And then for this wing right here, I'm going to go over the back. So I'm going to leave a little white patch there in the front. And then for his face, let's go right around the outside of his face. And then since his face is tipped down over here, I'm going to go ahead and brush this side up just a little bit more. And then we're going to take B41 and we're going to fill it in. So this wing that I only did half of, I'm going to go ahead and color in the rest. And then up here, I'm going to go ahead and just swipe over his entire face. I'm going to come back with my B52 and I'm going to flick that back on this side, and then I'm going to go underneath of his chest again just to darken that up a little bit, maybe his wing. And then nothing fancy for his beak, we're just going to take our YR16 and fill it in, and it's really small, so be careful. And he's got a top and a bottom beak there, and you just fill those all the way in. Okay, so let's do our red now. So for that, we're going to use our 59, 39, 27, and 17. I'm going to go ahead and do my little reindeer's nose first. So I'm going to use R27 first, and I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to do half of his nose this color. And I kind of tipped it up so it kind of goes in a little swoop. And then I'm going to fill it in with R17. So nothing fancy for that little reindeer. And then for our ornament, we're going to use R39. And then we're also going to do these little berries down here. So let's go ahead and do a little dab of our berry. And then we'll add 27. And this berry is kind of buried underneath this top one, so I'm going to fill that one in. And then we're going to fill those the rest of the way in with our 17. I'm going to do a sweater. So for that, we're going to start with R59. And let's go ahead and do right here along the sleeve. I'm going to go ahead and connect it up here to his collar. And then for this sleeve, let's go ahead. This is going to be pretty dark back here behind the little reindeer, so I'm going to go ahead and swipe up this way into his hair. And then we're going to do this little crook in his elbow. And right here where his face is touching, I'm going to go ahead and go underneath that little ear too. And then this side you can see inside the underside of his shirt, so I'm going to color that in. And then up here he's got this little stripe that we're going to use our Spica glitter pin on, so I'm going to go underneath that little stripe. And then let's also go underneath of our reindeer's arm right here. Remember, there's a little stripe there, so be careful. And we'll go over here, but this little stripe's going to go up and touch the reindeer's arm, so make sure not to color that in. And then I'm also going to go all around the outside of my little reindeer. And here's where I covered in that little puff of hair he has right here. I just didn't even see it. I just went right over the top of it. So be careful when you're going around there, you don't, if you missed it when you were coloring him, that you don't color his little chest hair in. Because I did. Okay, then we're going to add 39. We're just going to brush up here. I'm just lightly going over this edge of that line. Try not to use too much because it's pretty dark still. I think I'm going to color this little V in right here. And then over here, we're going to want to brush away from this line. I'm going to try to avoid getting it on that little ball right there because I'm going to color it with my glitter pen, but it won't cover up this red. So if you're going to color it with a glitter pen, try to be careful. Then we're going to add 27. So let's go ahead and add it down here to this little line first so I don't forget. So I'm just swiping over those last two colors right on the edge of my line and making it thicker. And then over here, let's go ahead and fill this little V in. And I'm going to bring it over here to this paper. Bring this up. Okay, and there's that little ball, so be careful going around that. And I think I'm going to go around this little circle here too. We're going to go past that little string. And then we got this side. I'm going to fill in this little section right here. Let's go ahead and fill in this arm. Since it's behind all this stuff, it's going to be a little bit darker than the other side. And then we're going to fill in the rest of that with our R17. So I'm going to be very careful along that edge. I missed a little spot right here, so I'm just going to color that in. Okay, and then we got this little section down here. Some of these spots are so small. If you ran out of room and you ended with 27, that would be perfectly fine too. Okay, let's see here. I'm thinking that this little section right here needs another little swipe. Whoops, and I colored that little ball. Don't do that. See what I mean? So easy. Okay, I'm liking that. Okay, so that leaves us socks. Let's hop down here and we'll do R59 first. And I'm going to do a little bit where it's going behind his leg. And then I'm going to try to do a little dab underneath each of these little lines. So here it's coming up behind his leg. Right here is behind his leg. Here. But this is really dark, so I'm trying not to use too much of that. And then I'm going to add R39 to that. But again, just a little bit. I don't want it to be too dark. And then 27. Let's go ahead and bring this around, kind of like a little donut around the bottom. We'll leave the little white patch there at the top. Same for this one. Let's go ahead and go up here and leave just a little white patch. This one looks funny. I'm going to color that in. Let's color this one in too. I don't want it to look off. And then we'll go ahead and fill in this little bitty patch here with our R17. Isn't it cute? Okay, so now we're going to take our Spica glitter pen in gold, and I'm just going to fill in these little dots that were on this paper. And then I'm going to do these little balls on his shirt. Hopefully if I put enough on there to cover up that red that I made a mistake in, and it did pretty much. So if you dab it on there enough times, it'll make enough of an imprint. And then I'm going to color this little stripe. And I think I'll go over it a couple times just so it gives it a little bit more glitter. And then I'm going to do the bottom of his shorts. And we're going to do this little ornament top, this little stripe. And you could also do these little balls right here if you wanted, I guess. All right, so let's put our card together. All right, so you're going to get all your stuff out from your card kit, and the first thing I do is make sure my card is opening the direction I want it to open. Otherwise, I'm the type of person that would put it on there upside down, and then you get it all glued down and it's not going the direction you want, which normally would not make any big deal if you're going to get it on there sideways. But since I put my name on the back of my cards, I like them to open so that it's reading right side up. All right, so you're going to put the red piece on first. And next is going to come this little piece with the wood. And this one I put on straight. So you need to decide which way you want your wood grain to go. Next, you're going to have the one with the cute little ornaments, or you could do the little lights on the back if you prefer that piece. Like, you're not gonna, in reality, you're not gonna really see much of this paper. So that's why I chose the ornament section, because you're gonna have just a little bit. And this one I had, so it's kind of going off of the entire thing. And then, so it kind of goes off over here, and then it's on the wood section, clear around the rest of the side. Next, we're gonna have the blue piece. And then this one is going off of the top of our ornaments and kind of tipping like this. And then we're gonna have the snowflakes. Or if you prefer, you could do the side with the holly branch, the holly berries and the branches. And then this piece I'm gonna have go like so. And then we're going to put our boy, and mine has a few little extra little scragglers on there, so you might want to take your hand and just wipe it around the outside to get some of those extra die cut pieces that didn't come off. Like even this one has some little extra doodads on the side, like see all the little red spots? So you might want to brush your hand over it, you know, kind of scrape them off, or you can leave them on there, totally up to you, but this would drive me crazy, so I'm just gonna brush it off. Let's brush this off too, now that I've gotten them everywhere. Okay, and then I'm going to put some tape on the back of this. And this is going to go on to this little red piece. Like so. And again, see, it's still got a bunch of these little things like falling off there. Okay, so this one I didn't pop up. I went ahead and just attached it to my card base. Put him, let's kind of get my card straight first so I make sure I put them on there straight. And we're going to go like this. Okay, Then next, we're going to have a snowflake. So for my snowflake, I'm going to go ahead and use some liquid glue. And I just put my liquid glue here in the middle so that the edges can pop up. And lucky for me, when I cut it out, there's some words on the back of this one. I was using some scraps trying to use those up. And I'm going to stick that right here. That. And then I've got these cute little trees. So for these, I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of glue down the center. You get the glue down there first. Add a little bit of that. Okay, and this one, I kind of made it go down here so it's on the bottom of my little wood piece. And just tap it down. And then we're going to add some glue to this one. Same thing, I made this one go down here on the bottom of the wood piece. And then we just tap it down onto the top of this. And then for our sentiment, this sentiment is from CC Designs. I think it's called Funny Christmas, and I couldn't find it on their site anymore, so it must be retired, but I stamped this one sentiment for you. If you hate that sentiment, you can always flip the tag over, or you could trace it onto another piece of cardstock and stamp whatever you wanted on there. Okay, so we're just going to remove these pop dots. And then I kind of covered his shoe up just a little bit. Oops, got a bunch of extra. See, I got a bunch of the extra little parts from my die cut on there. So let's go ahead and make it go. Let's kind of go right down here. So it's kind of on the red, and then it goes across. Like that. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow some of these red bits everywhere. I'm going to take some Stickles Stardust, and you could use whatever stickles you have, but I'm going to add it to, after I get some down here, I'm going to add this to my snowflake. I'm just going to go around here and add some onto the white part of my snowflake. And I'm not being tidy, I'm just trying to keep it onto the snowflake. You could totally do this first and then let it dry and then stick it on, but I thought that was too much work. So we're just going to stick the stickles on here, and then it will dry on its own. And I know you probably can't see the stickles on the camera because there's too many lights on in here for you to see all the sparkles, but it makes it have a little bit of sparkle on there. If you don't have any stickles, you could also just apply some glue to your snowflake and then add some glitter. Just dip it in the glitter, and then it'll be all nice and sparkly. And then I'm also going to take some of this liquid applique, and I'm going to squirt it onto the edges of my tree. So this will be like snow. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to put some onto my tree, wherever I want to have snow. Just squish some more down there. Let's see here. Come on. It's decided to be persnickety. I'm going to put the lid on and give it a good shake. That's what I get for not storing it upside down. Okay, so let's put a little bit more. Oh, come on. I know there's some in there. Silly thing. I'm going to give it a squish and then it's going to go everywhere. That'll be entertaining, won't it? Okay, let's try squishing it with both sides. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we put that on here. And it looks all brown and disgusting, but it's not going to be. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take your heat tool. And I get it heated up on my hand first to make sure that it's nice and hot. And then you just hold it. Not too long. You're going to watch it and it's going to puff up. and turn white. I think that's it. But there, I don't know if you can see how it's got like little puffs of, but you don't want to leave it on there too long because you don't want your card to start getting bent because it's wet. You could also do the snow before you put them on there if you're worried about it. It doesn't take very long for it to puff up, so if you want to add some liquid snow on there, some liquid applique on there, you could make some little snow drops onto your little Christmas trees. You can also just add some stickles on your Christmas trees to make them all sparkly and shiny too. So anyway, there's our card today. Don't forget, I'll put a link to everything I used and the card kit down in the description box if you'd like to pick one up. If you love him, don't wait because he's not going to last. He's really cute. If you have a question, leave me a comment down below and I'll make sure to get back to you. If you like the video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Make sure to hit the little bell next to it so you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. So I hope you're having a fabulous week and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.